compliance regarding a climate action plan. And we're kind of discussing what's important to us before it gets resubmitted to the regional water board.
Well, this came on spring for me.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
It strikes me that everything we've just talked about is an emergency plan. What does it have to do with climate? Talking about how we're going to respond to a fire, seasonal flood. It seems to me what we've just talked about is redundant to those emergency plans. So what is the real purpose of this?
You're speaking the purpose of the statewide climate action plan requirement?
And well, if we're talking about including stuff like how are we going to respond to a local fire, all that in this plan, it seems that's in the emergency plan. That shouldn't necessarily be part of this study. Plan.
Yeah.
It seems to me climate change is a long-term thing. How do you deal with general things over the course of the next 30 years as opposed to how are we going to respond to a fire that might occur next week in Ojai? Anyway, so that's my general question, because honestly, it feels to me like this is feel-good legislation that doesn't have any real purpose, given that there are these other plans in place.
Yet it's a compliance issue.
Well, I know it, and that's what I'm saying. It's feel-good, creates a condition, which creates this whole build out of this thing that in the end, it's almost no real value. So that's just my personal critique of it. But again, if we're talking about fire response and flood response, why is that part of a climate action plan?
Our interpretation of that is first is we want to make sure that you're in compliance with, you say, the grand umbrella. Okay. And there's 1,200 collection systems in California, and everybody's struggling to deal with this because it is very broad reaching. You're absolutely right. And the initial idea, as you said, behind climate action plan had to do with sea level rise. That's what got this whole thing going. So in terms of our role here, we're trying to keep you structured strongly enough to be able to stay inside permit requirements and to keep the LA Regional Board from visiting you, okay, frankly. Right. The other thing is in the action plans, we've had the experience of seeing some vastly expensive forecasts of enormous cost to trying to do local analysis of long-term impacts. That's a very expensive engineering undertaking. And in the context of the report we're doing here, we're trying to offer the board something that presents a proactive stance on the part of the board to respond to things which can be looked at in the immediate rather than the big picture cost associated with long-term infrastructure changes. Is that?
Well, Matt, I think you've hit on what I'm primarily concerned about. This is a beast that's growing. Every time somebody submits one of these plans, somebody goes, oh, that's a good idea. Let's include that too. So now everybody.
Yeah, you saw the list. Yeah.
And so it just grows and grows and grows without any real control on it, truthfully without any real value as far as I'm concerned. So,
It's full of aspirational, that is to say, political language.
and so- well, I call it feel good, but yeah. And so the general concern then is how you submit for us, do you tamp that down to keep it from just growing and growing and growing? Where we get more and more, Joe Blow in Santa Barbara likes, to add this to it. So now we've got to add that to us. Maybe it costs us money to do that. Maybe it's just words on paper. I don't know, but my concern is it doesn't just keep growing and get more and more expensive every year.
Okay.
So you mentioned in your talk that you mentioned some of the board and they, oh, that's a good idea. We can add that. Well, I don't want them to add anything.
Yeah, I agree. I can say this, that from a, fixed liability standpoint, you have one of these and there's an agency across the way here, I can think that don't have it. You're in a way better position to argue in the enforcement, like for those spills. If you're going to go to the mat with them, you're going to have a climate action plan. You're going to say, look, we have at least looked at our system. There's 3 factors in the enforcement policy: culpability, cooperation, and history. So in those three factors in the policy, you can absolutely bolster the arguments that we've at least looked at our treatment system, we looked at our collection system. Well, other people reserve the headlights, so see this as a regulatory exercise, sure, but as a responsive enforcement, it's gonna help you. It's gonna help you, absolutely. We can help articulate that. We draft this a little bit to shed good light on the district that this is being completed. It's a way to, again, reduce liability, think ahead. We have a plan. A lot of agencies don't have a plan. I hear you, Director, I hear what you're saying about like, we don't want this thing to just keep growing, consultants keep coming in. We agree. We want to give you something you can utilize and maybe update someday. We can also use it for enforcement response. If and when they do, if they do come back 3 more years, you got to get to that 5-year mark. And then they really generally don't go back with state law in 5 years on spills. So we already get.
As Chair Ulrich has just pointed out, we have other issues to deal with the regional board on. And
Ending issues.
outstanding issues. And anything that we do to make them happier is likely to redound to our benefit there.
You hope so. So,
Those spills were sizable and there's a significant liability that has not been addressed or vetted at this particular point, one way or another. So anybody?
I wonder if I could add just one point. This is Tamara Austin, Austin Clean Water Advisors. I help Jim. We actually came out and did trainings. I was just looking back through Tatiana, Danny, Liz, and Israel came to visit us last spring. So just a perspective, I'm a recovering regulator. I worked for the regional water boards for the last 12 years before retiring. Worked with the Los Angeles region for 4 of those, representing their board. So I have a little perspective on this, and it's if you guys are familiar with the NPDES permits, there's this whole, act of God provision, right? It's sort of like, we did everything we could, but man, there's nothing you can do when you've got like the 2,000-year storm, right? But I think the whole point of the climate action plan requirement is to say it's not a 2,000-year storm anymore, and you have to start thinking about it, right? So it's the whole point is to get a plan in place, just like the sanitary sewer WDRs already required, having a capital improvement plan in place. This is capital improvement plan plus. It's sort of just thinking through what are these other things that are going to come our way. And you guys have gotten smacked with it. I mean, between the creeks overflowing and the roads washing out, I mean, you guys know firsthand, probably better than anybody, that climate change is real, right? That these intense storms are now the norm. I mean, for the last 2 years, that's what we've been looking at. We're looking at sediment basins that fill up in one season instead of lasting 3 or 4. So I think I hear everything you're saying, and I absolutely have heard it firsthand from the regional board, from folks that come in and talk to the board and say, you got to give us more time. You got to give us a break. You got to stop hassling us and loading up more requirements. I hear you. But at some point, you'd have to say, this isn't an act of God, and it's not something unexpected anymore because we expect it. So I think that's the regional board's sort of message to folks in the field is start expecting this, start planning for it. And I think there's a lot of latitude. I mean, I really got the sense from the regional board staff that we spoke with last week that they're really excited that you are being proactive, that you're reaching out and asking for feedback. And I thought to be honest, I thought they were pretty detailed. I thought you asked for feedback and they sure got it for you. But nothing on that feedback felt like something that was them expecting you to keep up with LA San. I didn't see that kind of feedback in the conversation. And Jim and Rich will know better than I will from the trenches. But just wanted to give you a little perspective on where they're coming from. They sure understand your position, and I think you nailed it. I'm sorry, I don't know who was speaking, but whoever it was that said we already have negotiations with them. we want to play nice. We want to do as much as we can to stay on their good side. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If you're making an effort and you're doing the best you can, they recognize that. So I think they're on the right track was my sense of things this week.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Got a couple. And these are just kind of thumbnail things off the, is it possible to align the map of the district so that is up?
We did.
Okay.
Already, Scott.
The bottom of it gets cut off a little.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's the nature of, you know, when you made, in the report, you made reference to having interviewed staff. I don't think it's necessary to identify which staff that was, but perhaps what staff departments, that kind of thing, so we get a sense of it just being some random staff person. Not that we have that large of an agency, but you know, when I identify, to me, when I'm looking at data, it's one thing. When I'm looking at either anecdotal information or information that's ostensibly coming from an informed party, I kind of like a little bit of background from that, rather than
Qualify your source.
yeah, sort of, but without, you know, to whatever level, granular level is appropriate. I'm not saying, you know, you don't need to be identified. Just from my perspective, a department would be helpful. That way also the report would identify the departments that were included in the collection of the information, and that would be me more beneficial, benefits the report. The other, I basically, at the end of things, at the end of the day, my question is, do you feel confident that the board is going to accept the revised submittal? What is your confidence level?
100%. Cameron, jump in here. Cameron actually is our, this is kind of this is what we specialize in, like working with the boards on not just these issues, but a lot of other issues. So Cameron, what was you know the staff better than anybody, what we heard, I thought was pretty positive. It was telling, Jim Extra.
You're on.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Once per call, right? Somebody's got to be on mute.
Usually me.
Yeah, did you get the Christmas ornament during COVID? Sorry, you're on mute. It's a picture of a little
Yeah.
something to memory for the memory tree. The regional water board it sounds like they're going to prepare a checklist for you. And so it should be really straightforward for you to be able to go down the checklist and make the types of changes that they're going to be looking for. Is it 100% guarantee that they're not going to think of something else? No, it's not. And the water board, their favorite phrase, I think, is this is an iterative process, right? So, but I don't think they're going to just keep hassling you for the sake of hassling you. I think they really are genuinely trying to put together a thorough list for you to be able to respond to. And, Jim's going to have that, I'm sure, and Rich taken care of. So I would put that in the 80, 90th percentile.
And that's really all I would expect, because once again, you're dealing with another public agency that, you may have good relations with or knowledge of or experience with regardless, but it still is a public agency. And the same time, want to make this into any bigger of a process. It is, because I personally agree with other board members that this is a compliance issue. That's what you folks do. Let's get the compliance over with, and then so that we can move on and have one item on agenda.
Find the threshold and then meet it and then stop.
There you go.
Where's that in? Should we approve for tonight so it can be submitted on August 1st?
I believe that's what we're here for.
For a motion?
Yes.
You guys already.
Yeah, we already submitted the August 1st report. That's
Right.
Revised.
we have never submitted the revised. No, this is the revised that we've received. And then Jim had a conversation after this agenda was prepared on the 22nd with the regional board. What's for your consideration is you can simply just pocket this one. We could perhaps wait for the comments to come from the regional board and see what those comments are.
In that case, then we don't have to do anything.
Wait for the regional board.
That's right. Okay.
And then we'll take one more look at response to Hope, last set of comments from the regional board.
Yeah, and there isn't any deadline. We're working on things. They're getting back to us. So at this particular, we'll act on it as soon as we act on it.
I'll just
That's
add that
correct.
we're very pleased they got, I mean, they got the initial, they got what they wanted, is what I heard. And they were very surprised. We called them and asked them, because I don't get the sense that people do that. I worked it for a long time. Nobody ever said, well, come in and review this. So it's pretty cool. Thanks to Tamara and having the, with them, 30 minutes. I thought that was beneficial for both sides.
Sounds like
I even get training out of this for them. So it's with more industry people.
And then one last thing that has to do with, it's directly related to the question of whether or not this is just a constantly expanding balloon. One of our missions here within Fisher is to provide cost-constrained solution for the immediate demand and not have it turn into some kind of lifetime employment for consultants. Okay.
Don't chase a moving goalpost.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because then the boards end up feeling hamstrung. And that's not the message we want to put across. We want to have enough of an answer, satisfies the need and creates a positive relationship with the regional board, and that's it. Right? So,
And that's essential. That's actually essential. And then, and once again, looking ahead to maintaining a good relationship through you folks, through our DM and staff. And we do have unresolved issues. So that's very good. Right. In that case, then no action to take. And so we will move on and say thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in and
Pleasure.
inserting in your schedule.
Compliments your staff. They were,
Yeah.
they hammered.
Yeah, Scott.
All cylinders running. All right.
buddy.
Good.
Especially Scott.
Should-
Okay, good night now. Thanks very much.
Thanks for the accommodation on WebEx. I appreciate that. You guys have a good night.
Good night.
Good night now.
Item number 11, water treatment plant filter airlift replacement and adjustment 2026-07.
For your consideration is the replacement of 24 airlifts down at the wastewater treatment plant. I sketched it out a little bit on the whiteboard here. So the way that these sand filters work, we have 6 sand filters. Each sand filter has 4 airlifts. The flow is always comes down to like a coaxial pipe comes down and then flows back up through the sand. To get the sand clean, the way it works, the sand works the center of a funnel. And then at the very bottom, there's a separate line that I didn't draw on there that burps a breath of air. It's a little bit more than a breath of air. And that burp of breath of air starts to mobilize the sand that's a flowing sand that's worked itself up past the air injection point. So it burbles it up and it comes to the top. What we received 20 months ago, and you guys can pass these around, they're clean. We had them sterilized, so there's no big deal. So there's 2 pieces here. This is a bottom piece. There's a couple of marks on here. These are marks from the extraction tool that they had to use to pull it out. So when you look at it, if you look into the inside, you'll see it has like a peened finish, like a ball peen hammer finish to it. But that doesn't happen throughout the whole pipe because this particular one that we received came in 3 segments, not a single piece. The 3 segments were assembled with at the location that they get delivered by a screw and thread. It's my theory that the screw and thread messes up the flow of the sand as it goes up through here. And what it does is it kind of likely creates a torrid shaped roll, and what the torrid shaped roll does is it literally erodes the pipe from the inside out. So this would be the thread that would have gone into the top. So that particular pig pipe had eroded all the way through the pipe that was internal to it, and then through of that coupling.
What's made up?
Schedule 80 PVC. So there's
Silicone, which is sand, which is one of the hardest.
yes.
You use plastic, don't expect it to wear.
Yes, so what the replacements are single piece replacements. The three pieces were originally manufactured with the intent of easing shipping, is at least what I've been told from Parkson. The replacements are longer; they're 15 feet of one solid piece. There was also an opportunity for us to take a look at stainless. The problem with the stainless is they're 15 feet of stainless pipe, and they become exceptionally heavy for the field crews to actually work with. Whereas a 15-foot section of PVC with the airlifts, and the airlifts are bulky, they're about the size of maybe like a 2-gallon coffee can. There's 2 airlifts on it. So 1 or 2 guys can move a PVC. I think you're going to be looking at 3 or 4 guys and probably a crane or a lift to try to work with the stainless steel. I've also heard from Coombs Hopkins, who is our local rep, that, excuse me, that they're finding that this stainless steel really doesn't last that much longer anyhow, and it certainly isn't worth the 4 times price difference.
So how long are these 15 feet projected to last?
It's a function of how quickly the filters can either be in continuous mode or they can be in an intermittent mode. The more continuous they are, the more expensive it is monetarily to run. Also, the more wear you have. However, what we're hearing from Stantec is when we go into D-night mode, is that we ought to be running in continuous mode. They've given us a 3 to 5 year estimate, but I'm not sure at this point if that's in continuous mode or in an intermittent mode. I don't know. But my plan is we'll probably dive into these things. This is 20 months old. I think we'll probably dive into it, pull 1 or 2 at 12 months, probably get to see how thick the pipe is and try to map it out and get them so that we pull them before they fail. I think on this particular mode, by the way, is the failure mechanism. If it's running those peen finishes, it's just going to get a pinhole leak here and there. Right? Whereas right now it's full tilt catastrophic, where it comes apart at each of the 2 couplings. Yeah, each of the 2 joints that are in the 3-piece thing, and they just literally come apart, and you have to fish them out. They're 15 feet long inside of a wet well that's 18 feet deep.
And if it comes apart, we're searching through the sand,
Yes.
find the pieces to pull out.
Yeah, exactly. And then part of the deal that I've tried to strike here with Parkson is we got a 40% discount. I think it was a 40% discount on the parts, and they are going to send a crew out and remove our existing ones, which could end up being a lot of fishing. It's going to be on them, and they're going to install the new ones. So there's no charge for their labor. That's going to occur. And I didn't talk about the scheduling. Part of the scheduling is they've committed at this point. Originally, it was 5 weeks. They've committed to have these delivered by September 8th. And their installation crew is going to be on site, willing to work at 6:30 in the morning on the 9th. And they're going to work the 9th through the 12th of September.
On your diagram, this pipe is the center pipe, right?
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Are the filters in operation today?
The filters are in operation today. We had a couple of spare parts that we had 3 or 4 spares. So we have 2 broken ones right now. Well, we had one that broke. I asked to remove a second one to see, hey, was this a once off or are they all similar? The second one came out and it looked just like the broken one. It came apart while they were extracting it. So they're working right now. I think what's ends up happening is they're just kind of sitting. It's basically a slip fitting where they're just sitting on themselves right now. So yes, they're working, but they're not in D-night mode. They're simply working as sand filters.
That diagram, this goes down the center, and there's a cylinder on the outside of this.
Yep.
Does sand ever get packed between this and that wall?
It's
If
not,
there's a hole, there will be sand in there.
it's not supposed
So
to.
why do they have to fish this?
Oh, it comes all the way to the top. You only have to fish it when you break it as it comes apart. So there's,
They accidentally pull it and
if
break
they
it.
pull it and it's pumped, comes apart, then you have to fish it.
So it's potentially an operator error in terms of how they're pulling it. It's not that it's stuck in the ground.
It's not stuck in the ground, no. And it's
Sand.
stuck in the sand, right? And it's, in all defense of the operators, if it's already, if it's that particular one wore through the pipe and then continued to wear through the external coupling. So it was clearly, they were just butted on top of each other. So if,
I understand the failure mechanism. I'm just wondering why we have to fish them. And the answer is we need to pull them more often and just check them.
Yep.
That's what you're planning to do. So that's a good thing.
We still need to plan to replace them
Yes.
every 3 or 4 years.
correct. And part, and in all reality is my bone to pick I had with Parkson is it's disappointing that they wore out in 20 months. It's substantially more disappointing that we didn't know what the price of them was, because it would have been built into the budget when we created the budget. You're exactly right.
Do you have a comment you wanted to make, Jack?
Yeah, I move for approval.
I actually have a question or two first. So we'll come back to that thought. What, curiosity, is the grit of the sand?
I don't exactly know. When I look at it, to me, it looks like Monterey #3, which is a sand that is often used in groundwater monitoring wells. It's coarse. It's coarse. Oh yeah, it's bigger, bigger than pin. It's coarse. It's a coarse sand.
It just means from an abrasive perspective, it's pretty serious.
It's coarse.
And the my second question is Parkson bringing out any spares to come, or is this just what they need to replace the 24?
I suspect they're bringing only what they need to replace the 24 at this point.
Well, then
We can order some spares and we'll see when they come out.
It's a delivery. Would seem to me, because, and I don't know, Matt, makes the difference between going offline or having to further complicate an existing operational condition that might beneficial. No. Okay. Aside from that, I don't have any other. Other,
I have a quick question.
yes.
Is there any chance this failure could be what's causing our NPDS, our algae mats?
I don't think so. I don't think it is. I guess there's a chance, but I don't think it is. But what I don't want to have happen is start up in D-night mode until we have ironed out these airlifts. I do not want to have two complicated issues simultaneously occurring.
Restart again.
No, not until we get this ironed out.
Hey, Jack, we're ready for your motion.
Okay, I move for approval. Staff recommendation.
Second.
Good.
Director Martinson,
Yes.
Director Berg. Yes. Director Quillisi,
Yes.
Director Reed, Director Curtis,
Yes,
and Chair Ulrich.
Yes. Okay. Right. Next item is, let's see. Okay. Next item is item 13, discussion, total maximum daily load, TMDL plan upgrade, project startup, operational adjustments, and commissioning update.
So it's my intent to keep the board completely appraised of what's going on out there. You can see that was in the board packet that there was a submittal that staff and Stantec and I worked together to make for an operations plan to the regional board. The regional board came back to us on with some comments. We resubmitted, and then on top of that, I have it's not here in the packet, it was dated the 18th. You can take that and pass it around. There's a letter from the regional board dated August 14th saying that they take no objection to our operations, including the fact that based on verbal conversations I had with the board, that we were going to be pushing back the night start date until after the air filters were approved on or about the 15th of August. I'm sorry, September. Going forward, the important things for you all to know is that the airlifts are going to be delivered on the 8th, planning to remove them the 9th through the 12th. You can install the new ones, and we are planning to go into D-night mode on the 15th. When you dive into the operations plan, it's somewhat specific on how we're going to do the D-night mode. One of the changes that we're making to our system is that we're going to be using a mix of Micro C 1000 and Micro C 2000 as the carbon source that goes into the sand filters. The reason for that suggestion came from Stantec, and it was also backed up somewhat anecdotally by some staff. There's a presumption that Micro C 2000 it has a glycerin base to it, whereas Micro C 1000 is a carbohydrate base. And some of this fouling, this EPS that we were seeing, may be related to how certain bacteria either consume, acclimate within the glycerin. So we're going to start off with a 30-70 mix. There's more carbon in Micro C 2000, which means it's more cost effective to have that delivered and use that. But if the flip side of it is the glycerin is a detriment, we're trying to get off the glycerin. Happy to answer any questions on the TMDL.
Yeah, I have a couple in it until anybody else has anything. Number one, I thought it was ironic that the define all acronyms throughout the operations plan. It's kind of standard engineering to layer on the acronyms without identifying what they mean. The ironic about it is in the water board's letter, they had acronyms they didn't define. So I guess it's endemic in the engineering community. But that for us chicken pluckers, it is helpful. I see something that actually just once, then from then on, they didn't have the acronym away. And it does appear from the comments about the oxidation ditches and the D-night filters that the work was reviewed by somebody that actually knows what they're looking at, which is beneficial. Much of this I'm sure was kind of turned over to Stantec.
Stantec definitely helped. They were paramount in assisting.
Are there any issues within items 2 or 3 that that's on the horizon?
No, and interestingly enough, I think if Bradshaw was here, he'd reiterate what I'm going to say is that the way that the oxidation ditches are running now is really quite different than the way that they've run for years, and they are really yielding great results. That our nitrates are down to like 3.5 right now, which is spectacular. That's right where we wanted to go. And it's using a different method of a younger age biology, more turnover of the biology. It is a different way than that has been run in the past.
Are there any issues, any challenges relative to besides the risers, the air risers, and the biology question? Are there any other challenges right now that we're looking at?
Not that I know of.
Okay, that was all I had.
That's sufficient, I think.
Okay. This item does not require any action on our, so we are, as that's concerned. Let's see, is there, okay, let me get. Three. But it's taking me a while to get. Okay. Item 14 monthly financial reports. Issues. Investment report. Staff reports, operations, administration, and management of the district. Any
Compliments to the staff. Again, for providing not just a description of what they're doing, pictures. Helps a lot.
I think so. Second best. So. Okay, there were no committee meetings that I'm aware of. So I don't, any reports on meetings, seminars, conferences attended. State conference staff summary.
Yeah, there's just a written summary from the collection staff that attended the Tri-State Conference in Las Vegas. So that's more for your information as a board, what they observed or learned.
Okay. In that case, then, items of interest, correspondence, articles. Okay. We're in general manager comments, starting with general manager.
Yes, I've got some great news. We received some information from FEMA. The 2024 Foster Park Trunk Sewer Protection Project was obligated on August 10th for $174,000. So we don't have the money, but they've at least obligated it. And the Ojai Bike Trail Pipeline Reconstruction Project was obligated on August 19th for $1.48 million.
That one will go through a full heavy review because of the dollar amount. So that will be longer than the normal 6 to 8 months for a check to arrive.
Well, at least it's on the horizon. We're not even on.
2 million in approved.
I'd have to 0.5. Yeah.
Over
Out of the four.
That's good.
Out of 5.3. With the board.
Yeah. Five was all it was from obligation, I think. Yeah, it's in the option word.
Maybe before that first one.
And then one last thing, there is, so the Ventura County Special Districts Association is, we've all been invited to attend the next meeting. The next meeting is at Cayugas. It's on Tuesday, September 2nd from 5:30 to 7:45. If anyone is interested in attending with me, let me know. I'm going to RSVP for the district tomorrow. And so it's going to be a tour of Lake Bard Filtration Water Plant. Meeting at the Cayugas facility. And then Cayugas is going to give us a presentation on Metropolitan Water District in Cayugas and the work that they've been doing. It really doesn't affect us directly. That's not
Other end of the water cycle.
it's part of the water cycle, and it's certainly tied into the LA side of things. There's also, if you get a chance to pencil it in for consideration, the Association of Water Agencies, the AWA, has their Reagan Library event. And again, everyone has been invited. That is on September 18th. That's 5:30 to 8 o'clock. And if you're interested, let me know and I'll make sure that we get you a written invite. But all elected officials in the county of Ventura.
And that also probably includes appointed officials. Want to go. Okay. There any other? Okay, hearing none, then I will call an adjournment of this meeting at 7:05. Fabulous.